Hey, I'm Shelly,
And I'm Angela,
and this is Real Talk Dating Exposed.
where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of dating in your 40s.
If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like us below.
And if you're listening to us on audio, please subscribe as well.
Now let's get into it. Okay, you just go through a breakup. What do you do next?
Yeah, we get this question a lot. I feel like,
Yeah.
a lot of people, depending on how long they've been in the relationship, they feel like they've lost themselves. They feel like, it's easy, right?
Yeah.
To lose yourself in a relationship. You have like your routine with your person, you have your circle of friends, you have the hobbies and things that you did. So when your relationship ends, oftentimes people are like,
feel like their world ends.
yeah, like who am I?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to take time to really sit with yourself and figure out, okay, how did I lose myself in that relationship? What are some things that I want to do that I've never done? What are my hobbies? Oftentimes people are like, I don't have any hobbies.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to make a list of all of that. But also I think it's important to identify maybe some things that you did in that relationship or allowed to have happen to even have lost yourself in the beginning, because ideally you learn from that, you grow from that so that it doesn't happen in the future, right?
Agree. And I think a precursor to all of that is, it's okay to cry it out. You know,
Yeah.
like when you feel
Yeah.
the feels before you just throw yourself, like we're saying, like there, yes, you want to be aware of like where you potentially could have lost yourself in those things. But I think a lot of times people don't want to feel those feelings. And like, it's important to like fucking cry it out if you want to cry it
Yeah.
out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like feel it to release it for whatever reason. And who knows what, listen, there's also a possibility you didn't even lose yourself in the breakup. It just didn't work out. Like, imagine if that's the case, like you guys are two great people and you just decide you're not meant to be. I still think even if you still carried on doing the things you love, there is a level of that independence that you did not have when you were together that
Right.
you probably have to re-explore.
Right.
And that feels foreign.
Right.
I think we both experienced that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think no matter how secure you are, you still go through a point where you're like, holy shit, like, I don't know. It's sad, but then you're like kind of lost. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a good word.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what are ways you feel like that you can get yourself back?
Yeah. I think it's just as something as simple as writing down on a piece of paper, right? Like things that you love to do that, again, that maybe you didn't. And I think it's okay to, and almost necessary to plan and make things exciting in your life. So you have something to look forward to, whether that be something as simple as like, I want to wake up and go for morning walks.
Oh, 100%.
Just like little things.
Or even like a girls' trip like next month,
Yeah.
where you're just like, hey, let's get out of town for 3 days and
Right.
just, it gives you something to look forward to. But I
Right.
also think sometimes removing yourself from that, the routine that you two could potentially have had together,
Right.
will give you a different perspective getting out of that. That way, when you come back into it, you feel a little lighter,
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Not that you're trying to escape though,
No. Yeah, but to your point, because I think that it is important. There will be, it's just like anything, right? You have to allow yourself the space to feel the feelings. There's going to be grief. There's going to be anger. There's going to be sadness. There's going to be relief. There's going to be a lot of things that come, I think, when it comes to a relationship ending. And I think to your point also, just acknowledging that some people just come into our life for a period of time. And if we can get in a space of just feeling the love for that person,
Which is hard.
Which is hard.
It can be
especially
hard.
in the beginning.
For sure.
But it allows you to at least hold on to the good things, because not all relationships are bad, right?
Agree.
But then live in that space of like, okay, this person came into my life to teach me these lessons. What are those lessons? What in the relationship did I not love? What do I want to be different in my next relationship? How could I show up differently? Because let's be honest, it takes two, right?
Always.
To end a relationship. So realizing your shortcomings in that relationship and working on that piece. Because I think what often happens is people they're lonely, they get sad. Okay, I'm going to jump into the next relationship. Well, welcome to the cycle of dating then, because you're literally going to keep ending up in those relationships and in that cycle until you understand your role in that.
Totally.
Right?
I think that's probably one of the biggest things I witness with friends or even just colleagues or just on social media even, because you can watch people's like shit shows unravel.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many people end up like break up for whatever reason. And then they are on to the next in 2.5 fucking seconds. And I feel like if there's ever a red flag, or even when we date people, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, when was your last relationship? That's like a first question I ask,
100%.
because
Yeah.
I'm like, if it was last week, then I'm like, okay, well, why did you break up? And then like, if they were together for 2.5 years, I'm like, dude, that's kind of quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
like, I feel like jumping to the next one immediately after, it fills that void in that moment, but you're ultimately delaying the inevitable, which is
Yeah.
that you gotta fucking feel that shit to get through it, you know?
Yeah.
So you're just gonna carry all that baggage with you to the next relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's like the worst thing you could ever do. Not to say that I
100%.
didn't do it in my
Yeah.
life, in my younger years,
Right.
you know, but how much we talk about how important it is to like take that time after to like feel, reflect,
Mm-hmm.
and then just almost, I think solitude is
Yeah.
super important. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
To kind of spend that time back with yourself. That way, you know, you're like 100 alone again before you hop into the next one. Because if you don't do that, it's going to jade you're going in for the wrong reasons moving forward.
Well,
do you
yeah.
agree with
You're
that?
definitely bringing in the baggage, right? I mean, let's just say hypothetically, I'm in a relationship and it ends because I don't know, I was cheated on, and I don't heal that piece of it. I'm going to bring the insecurity and my suspicious nature, right, to that next man, which isn't fair, right? Because he didn't do anything.
Agree.
But I do think it comes down to most people are not comfortable being alone,
100%.
sitting with themselves and having that solitude, because it is scary, sad, lonely. Then you get to that point where you're like, well, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do, right? At
Yeah.
that point, because it feels so good and it's so peaceful. And I think too, just having that question of, is the glass half full or half empty? I'm definitely half full.
For sure.
And so I think if you can look at it like, this is my opportunity to recreate a life that I actually want, that I'm going to be proud of, that I'm going to love. And it goes back to, what are the things that I can do for myself? Is it therapy? 100%.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of therapy. Is it meditation? Is it reading? Is it working out? Maybe you have put the movement to me is such a medicine.
For sure.
And it doesn't have to be in the gym. It could, like I said, just be something as easy as just a walk, right? All of that is very therapeutic. So just figuring out what works for you. And then if you find yourself being like, I want to go learn how to country dance, but I don't want to because I don't know anybody. If you find yourself holding yourself back because of the discomfort, I would say lean into that.
I agree.
Show
completely.
up.
Yeah.
You'll expand your friend group, because oftentimes too with relationships, you end up
Neglecting friendships.
neglecting them, or even maybe reevaluating those friendships, after that relationship ends. But yeah.
Agree. I also think that people fail to realize that like it's so easy to, when you're in it, to be feeling all the heavy feelings, but like everything happens for a reason. So I think when you start realizing there's a lesson in every breakup, and taking that, not that it's not going to make it hurt less, but realizing like if it's meant for you, it will be yours.
Yeah.
Says the universe, but I
Yes.
believe that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I feel like if it's meant to be, like there shouldn't be friction along that path. Granted, there
Right.
will be bumps,
Yes.
but if there's like a breakup, then I feel like, okay, this happened for a reason. I need to process that. But then, like you said, like, how can I be better moving forward? And then also, what did I witness in my partner that like I really don't fucking want to deal with ever again?
Right.
Or
Right.
like what were their signs? And oftentimes, which I've experienced, in hindsight, you're like, oh my God, look at all those red flags that I kind of thought were yellow.
Yeah.
Or just turned a blind eye to, but looking back, it's like, oh no, now I know, like if I see that, I know that it's going to mean that, and I don't want that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I think oftentimes too, what happens is when you break up with someone, then you only remember the good things. So journaling the things that you didn't love will also be a really good reference point to go back and be like, actually, no, this is how I felt in that relationship, not all the frilly.
The really good things, because it is so
Yeah.
easy to go back to the nostalgic,
Right.
fun times, and not like the shit times that got you to the breakup.
Yeah.
And I do think also it's important to recognize, like, if you broke up, normally it's for a reason, and like we can go back and forth, right? Like it can be a dance where you yearn for that person again, and then you can kind of talk yourself into it, but you really got to be clear about like what you deserve. Like that's where I feel like you have to put yourself first, right? And decide like whether or not, because that we've seen that happen too, where people can come in and out, and then it's like, is that working for me? Is that what I want?
Right.
But I think most importantly, after a breakup, immediately, like it's super big to like sit down, like you said, and like self-reflect on the good, the bad, the ugly of what the hell went on in that relationship. That way
Yeah.
you can decide like how you'd want to move forward in the next one. I mean, when do
Yeah.
you think after a breakup is a valid time to start dating again?
I feel like that's a hard question because my questions are then, well, how long were you in that relationship for?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know that I can answer that, but I would say it's going to be different for everyone. Also, how much work did you do in that time frame that
sure.
you were alone, right? And I think there's also this component of you want to be what you're looking for, right? And so that again goes back to, are you doing the work to show up in a relationship the way that you want someone to show up for you? And I feel like if you focus on that, one, it's only going to make you better and it's a healthy approach, but also you'll start attracting different people because you're showing up differently.
Agree.
You know?
But don't you feel like, so I feel like it's easy for us to talk about this stuff because we've done so much work.
Yeah.
I feel like to some people, that's just like, it sounds good in theory, but it's not easy, I guess is my point, right? Like to sit and reflect and then to make sure you're like, because I think self-love is a huge part of why people, you know, either stay, which is another topic, but like finding self-love, I think, is lacking more than we think so in a lot of people. And I think that's why people stay in relationships, or when they do break up, they feel a sense of guilt. Like, did I do something wrong? You know, not that they don't have ownership in it, but I do think it's so important for you to like get to a self-love space
Yeah.
before you open up to someone else again.
100%.
You know,
Yeah.
I just don't think I just know the path for me took a really long time.
Yeah. And it's never ending.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
well, it's never ending. Yeah.
We talk about that where you think, okay, I'm good there. And then something else will trigger. And maybe the feeling is different and the lens in which you process it is different. But I think, I mean, I'll just be brutally honest. Like self-love has always been at the core of my areas that I need to improve.
For sure.
Right. So do I still have opportunities to improve that? 100%. Am I as vulnerable to behaviors or situations now than I was 10 years ago? No,
For sure.
you know,
But it's never like you,
but
I
it's-
checked that off. I
yeah, it's
conquered
never
that.
like,
and
okay,
like,
accomplished.
self-love,
you know,
check.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're good
but
there.
it's just something that you're more aware of and you know how to identify the thoughts or the patterns quicker. And then you have the tools. I mean, and I think that this goes back to I still strongly believe in like your traditional therapy. I think you start there to identify, okay, where in my childhood or upbringing did I feel this lack of self-love, and how can I go back and reparent and do the inner child work that I need to do so that I can look at that differently and be different on the other side. So if we're talking like specifically, and again, everybody's different, but I think the theme of what we all struggle with is the same, right? So therapy. I'm a big proponent of Reiki, meditation.
Totally. I did a lot of my healing through reading. So it wasn't like actual therapy, although I did do therapy also. But like to me, finding books or like an author that you feel like speaks to you that resonates, where you can like, I just like being able to go back, highlight, you know,
Yeah.
it's different than the self-talk, right? But
Right.
like it's still, it can substantially get you through, you know, those moments of doubt or not loving yourself so much, you
Yeah.
know, and then and processing that. So yeah, I mean, I just think again, coming out of breakups, if you're band-aiding a breakup with a new human, then oftentimes you're even adding the shit on top of the shit.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
never, it's like the elephant in the room. Now there's fucking two, and then there's three, and then you're like, holy shit, like, do I even know?
Yeah.
You don't know your ass from your elbow because you're so up to your eyeballs in like, hi, you know what I mean? Like you just don't, you don't even know where your initial issue would have started because you're
Yeah.
adding different components from other people onto the
Right.
next one because
Right.
every dynamic's going to be different.
Right.
You know, or
Yeah.
you start attracting, like you brought up the scenario, like say you were cheated on. Well, say you jump to the next one, even if you're not bringing the securities in, then you'll find the anxious person that's going to make you feel like which isn't healthy either.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could just spiral.
Yeah.
And I feel
And
like I
I'm a-
watch a lot of people spiral.
Yeah. And I'm a big proponent of like a believer, I should say, that the cycle will continue until we learn our lesson. So if you find yourself in the same relationships, I hate to break it to you, but you're the common denominator.
For sure.
And so it's that look yourself in the mirror, have a tough love conversation of why do I continue to put myself in these situations? Why do I not love myself enough to not put myself in these situations? And what can I do differently next time? And the answer is 100% always sit with yourself, do the work. What do they say? Dance in the shadows. Like
Yeah.
love the dark, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. so that when you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm ready, you are so confident. And, you know, again, you're showing up the way that you want to be.
For sure. And I'm being on that side where I did repeat cycles, right? And like same men over and over. I still doubt myself. And I've done a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still have moments where I'm like questioning, like, is this like, I have self-doubt moments still, right? Where I'll be like, I like this person, but like, am I repeating? If I go for him, is this like more of the fucking same? But I have to trust that, like, if it shows up, that I'll know
100%.
more than I've ever known before. Right. And that I have now the strength and self-love and like wherewithal to piece the fuck out.
Yeah.
If it's not, if I start seeing any of those signs. I just understand on the other side, it's easy for us to sit here and tell people like, love yourself through whatever. We've both been there though. And I think being there, we realize it is not easy.
No.
You know, and the older you get, I think the more in your head you get, and the more it's different when you're younger, right? You just don't care as much. But now it's harder to like, you know, we overthink things. At least I do, you know, and then I can overthink and overprocess and then be like so in my head about all the things that it's like, okay, take a deep breath, like understand you are further along than the last time, and like trust yourself enough that if you've done the work that you will make the right decision. But I guess don't let fear hold you back either though, on the flip side.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not like don't jump in too quick, but you also don't want to
guarded and
stay so guarded that because you're scared to get hurt again, which we also see.
But I think you get to that place in time, right? Like you're not getting out of a 10-year relationship and 3 months later you're ready to just jump in and be completely open and vulnerable, and that's going to take time.
But I also know people that it's been years and they still sing the same tune. Yeah. Which is I'm still like, I'm done. It's like they put that wall up because they're like, I'm not going to get hurt again. And I'm like, dude, it's been 5 years. Like now you're just like inhibiting your own happiness
100%
out of fear.
Yeah.
Which, love is scary, right? It can be like relationships can be scary, but like that, we have one life. So like, if you get hurt again, you're going to learn something else.
Yeah.
At least you're going to learn, right? Yeah. Like, not that we want that.
Yeah. We always say that you're either going to learn or
it's going to be a lesson. What is that saying? Yeah. What is it? It's like a lesson or a...
I don't know.
You guys know what we mean. Yeah. You know, it's one of
the... Anyways, moving on.
You're either learning or you're growing. Either way, there's no mistakes, I guess, right?
Yes.
It's either,
no mistakes.
It's either going to work out or you're going to learn something. Either way, you're winning.
Yeah. 100%.
Is that it? I just made that up. Okay.
No,
yeah. I like that one.
That is it. Okay. So to break it down, can we break it down in steps?
All right.
We can wrap this one
up. So break up. Feel the feels.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Take the you time.
Yeah. Get a therapist.
Yeah. And then I'd say analyze where the good and the bad of those relationships. And if it means writing it down, write it down. You know, like, what did I love about him in this? What did I not love? And what did I love about me in this? And what did I not love? That way you can reflect on like what you're looking for moving forward in someone else, but also what you need to change about yourself.
Yeah. And then redesign your life.
Yeah.
That's the exciting part.
Agree.
You are in control. You're behind the steering wheel of that car, right? Where you can just be like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? What activities do I want to incorporate? You know, what habits do I want to start adding in so that I can start feeling good about my life?
And plan something fun with your girls or your guys to look forward to get you out of your head space.
Yes.
In the meantime. And take the time you need before you jump into the next one.
100%. Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.